Talking about why is soccer so famous, or that's what pretty much yeah. So why is soccer so famous? So, statistically speaking, soccer has more estimated fans than any other sport across the nation, according to a study done by FIFA, which is the Football International Federation Association. And they're opposed to any other sport. They are ranked number one in the top 10 list with any other sports, and we'll get more into that. They have an estimated 3.5 billion fan base. So that ranges from Europe, Africa, South America to Central America, and yeah, it's like we're staying. It's not as famous, but we'll get into that. So what makes soccer so great? So the statistic. So today I have three key ideas that support what I'm going to get into today. So statistically speaking, it's undeniable in how soccer fans outnumber any other sport. The importance of diversity and the impact soccer has had on our generation and future generations. And last of all, when it comes to playing soccer, you really don't need much to play the game. So speaking cost-wise. So how do we even know if soccer is as famous as people make it out to be? According to Sportster, or this actually Top 10 magazine, there's a top 10 list of sports with estimated fans followed. And American football and basketball, they both tie for ninth place, but that has like 400 million, and golf has 450, and the range all the way down. But soccer is number one with 3.5 billion. So if you divide 400 million into 3.5 billion, it goes in roughly 9 times. So that's about 9 times more fans than American football and basketball. So yeah, these are just pretty much, this is a Top 10 magazine, their top 10 sports statistics. So another reason. So why did soccer have so many fans? And the answer to that is diversity. And since soccer is played across the nation, it allows for diversity in many ethnicities and cultures to get along. That's talking about like from Europe, Africa, South America. Like there's no really singling someone out when you're playing the game of soccer. I mean, it always like it's cool. It's a great way to make friends and whatnot. More reasons on how diversity is positive. First of all, a lot of people don't recognize that soccer has the most popular estimated fans in Europe, Asia, and America. That's a lot of cultures and nations getting along just to play a game of soccer, opposed to judging each other's skin. So that's another way diversity is a positive factor. Second of all, according to a survey done by FIFA, there are over 270 million people playing soccer regularly around the world. In other words, that's 4% of the world population. This study also scientifically monitored a leading social studies organization. No other sport in the world comes close to that soccer's popularity internationally, and that is because anybody can play the game, and that's just FIFA, what it stands for. And that's a study done by FIFA, which is the Federation International Football Association. But last of all, like I said, you don't need much to play. When it comes to playing soccer, it doesn't matter where you're at. All you need is pretty much like a soccer ball, 2 people, and 2 shirts to make a goal, or like 4 shirts in total to make like goal post, or play at the beach, or like just at a park. It's pretty simple to get a game going and enjoy the beautiful game and make a lot of friends that way. Yeah, I guess like I mentioned before, you don't need much to play. But according to Sportster magazine, soccer is one of the so this is a quote from them. Soccer is on the poorest streets of third world countries as much as it's played in rich countries. It gives hype and something that will connect to one another and teaches them to play the value. Teaches them the value of the beautiful game. The next example of soccer's power to ease poverty is in India. We all know India is ranked pretty high for the poverty, and they had actually this is where elite gatherings, slum dwellers, and homeless people is called slim soccer. It's actually it's slim soccer was created. It's pretty much for, soccer in the slums in India. So that backs up my point with. You don't need much money to play, because even in like slums in like India, they created their own little game of soccer. It's just pretty much consists of like I said, just pretty much getting this. It's like a pickup game, and you don't really need like a goal. Like you just need to make 2 shirts, or you do need a goal, but he could create it with like 2 shirts or something that will make a goal. And that being said, with all the facts and examples I presented today, I hope people can see how soccer has impacted the world and how it's one of the most watched sports. So to conclude, when it comes to playing soccer, it doesn't matter where you're at or how much money is in your pocket. It's meant for fun and to enjoy yourself. And we can't forget, since soccer put across the nation allows for diversity and many ethnicities and cultures to get along. And last of all, in the world of statistics, soccer is ranked #1. So that is pretty much the end of my speech. I believe I gave you an extra piece of paper too, which is a period of values.
I don't have anything else. Let me
That's
see.
fine.
Oh wait, let me see. Maybe I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
Amber, what did you think?
I think it was easy to tell what the points were, like, and the topic, but he was reading a lot from the screen, because like the whole speech was there, so it was hard to like, for him to like connect with us since he was just facing the screen and reading it.
And that's it?
Yeah.
That's your point. Okay. Okay, well, you start off with a little bit of a problem. You do the exact thing that I told you not to do, which is, today I'm talking about. Every time I hear that sentence, I'm going to drop people 2 or 3 points. So you're going to lose a couple of points because of that. You've got a good set of statistics. That's what you should be starting with. You should start with that information about how many people around the world watch soccer compared to the other kinds of sports, and mention that 9 times as many people watch soccer and follow it as watch American football. We think of football as being the big sport in our country, but around the world it's dwarfed in comparison. And that's when you want to say, today I want to talk about, after you get our attention and talk about those kinds of things. So you've got those things sort of in verse. The topic identification is okay. The thesis statement's pretty good. The justification, because of some of the things that you're talking about, I think you've done a nice job kind of giving an explanation as to why you want to talk about this. And there's even a preview. Your sentences on the supporting points are a little bit awkwardly phrased. It would work better if they were more complete and more smooth. But we know generally where you're going on those points. And for the visuals, I think you could even simplify it a little bit. Some of the points don't need to be visualized. I think you're putting your outline on the screen isn't really required. I think some other things would probably benefit you in visual content when we're talking about those things. There's an okay use of supporting material. We got some quotes from sports organizations, and we got a couple of quotes from sports journalist groups. So there's some data in the presentation. And I kind of like your explanations, although sometimes they seem a little incomplete. You keep making references to people using their shirts, and I'm going, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. They putting these up as a net? Are they, just dropping them on the ground to mark spots? Is it so we've got shirts versus skins? I mean, I know that there's some reason, something that you're thinking of, that you've got an image in your head, but my referent is not very clear on that. And the examples that jumped out at me immediately, you mentioned the way that they have these kind of slum soccer leagues in India. Well, where's a photograph of how they are playing, how they manage to put together a soccer field even in, what are negative conditions, and how do the kids manage to play in those situations? Somebody's got to have a photograph of something like that. Why am I not seeing that? Why am I instead listening to you talk about, I'm not even sure what with the t-shirts? That seems like a missed opportunity. Since we're talking about the visuals here, the statistical information, you just have it all as script up there. It's all text. And to me, that's a perfect example of where a bar graph would visualize the point that you're talking about when it comes to how important soccer is around the world in terms of the number of people who follow it compared to all the other sports. And that would have been an easy thing to do. You could do a bar graph, you could do a pie chart on that, and give us a quick visualization of that sort of thing instead of giving us this list of numbers, which it's not going to be very interesting, it's not very engaging. I am going to agree with Amber about your delivery. That is a problem. You turn and start speaking to the screen, and 90% of the time that's what you do. You deliver your speech to the screen. So that's an issue. I see a lot of potential here. There's a good structure. You've got information in the speech. You need to make it come alive a little bit more with some more interesting stories and data on each of those individual points. I don't think that you get very far on that first point because it's all just data about how popular soccer is. And when you're talking about the diversity of soccer, I can kind of appreciate that there's something there, but there's not much description. We don't get any quotes. Where's an example. When you talk about people around the world coming together to play a game of soccer, well, let's talk about that. Where does that happen? Do we have incidents where people in the Middle East play soccer against Israel even though they're a hated enemy? We've got something like that. Or people in the middle of a war stop to play soccer for an hour, something along those lines. I don't know. You say there's diversity in it. You say it helps people overcome their differences. Well, where are the examples? Where are the illustrations of that make it interesting to talk about? And you need to have that kind of content to the presentation. You had slim soccer up there instead of slum soccer. I'm not sure if that was just a typo or if there is something that's also slim soccer, like they play on really narrow fields because they're in the slums and they got to play on a street instead of a field. I didn't know. That's another one of those things that I think needs to be clarified. And like I said, some other visual images, not just text up on the screen that you were reading to us, would have been helpful. Let me see. The summary, I think you've got a pretty good summary, although again, you represent it with text instead of talking to us. And then we have my favorite weak exit, and that's about it. So you started off bad, you end bad. In the middle, there's a lot of good stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that could be even better in the speech. And some missed opportunities. You're doing some things that are pretty good, though. So you're on the right track there, and you're going to get better, I'm sure. All right, thank you.